Hey y'all, you're watching Miss Congeniality. So what are you dying to know but not quite too sure who to ask? Well, you ask me, your girl Jamie, Miss Congeniality, of course. On today's Ask Jamie segment, we're going to be taking a question from a viewer, Joe in Missouri, and it's all about being a great conversationalist. And Joe writes, Jamie, I've always wanted to be an interesting person. I've always wanted to be that person at a party that everyone is taking pictures with and dying to talk to. Long story short, I ended up being a teacher. I have 3 kids, a husband, a mortgage, and I feel like I am anything but interesting. It's kind of a weird question to ask someone, but I'm just throwing it out there. What would you suggest to someone like me? How can I be a more interesting person? Okay, so Joe, how to be a more interesting person. You know, what I'm gathering from your question is what you're really asking is, how can I be a great conversationalist in a social setting, which will then make me an interesting person? Here is my answer, and I'm going to give it to you in 5 steps. The first and most important element, if you want to be an interesting person, is not to be interesting, but to be interested. You have to be interested. So here's the scenario. You are at a party. The goal is never for you just to talk to somebody to tell them how interesting you are. Your goal is always to ask people questions. You walk up and meet somebody. Hi, I'm Joe. What's your name? What do you do for a living? Ask people questions, and don't just ask one question. Ask a follow-up question. That lets the other person know that you are listening. So the first thing you have to do in order to be interesting and a great conversationalist is ask questions. Ask people questions. The second thing you need to worry about if you want to be a great conversationalist is to be interested in other people. So the only reason you're going to keep asking people questions is if you really do find them interesting. And if you don't find them interesting, then you're not going to ask questions. And nobody's going to find you interesting if you don't find them interesting. So you have to genuinely find other people interesting. The third point I want to make when it comes to being a great conversationalist is to learn how to tell a quick story. Every time you want to tell somebody a story, you cannot do a 20-minute monologue with every detail. No one wants that. You've got to learn how to say 1, 2, 3, done. Get to the point, make it funny. People will remember you and go, wow, that was an interesting story. Tell me more. The fourth thing you need to incorporate in your developing your conversation skills repertoire is to learn how to read people. This is part of that listening, but it's actually more of a watching their verbal cues. So when you're talking with somebody and you're sharing back and forth, are you watching them? Are you paying attention to their movement? Are they looking to get away from you? Because if they are, in the conversation now. Learn how to read people. That is so important. And the fifth, and probably also the most important thing to take from this answer is you need to know when a conversation is over. Most conversations have a climax. You see somebody, you ask a question, they answer it, they ask you a question, you answer it, you laugh a little bit, and guess what happens? The conversation's over. Embrace it. Say, man, that was a great conversation. Nice seeing you. We'll talk next time. The thing is you don't want to be that person that's the vampire that just swoops in and says, listen to every story I've had from the last 50 years. You don't want to be that person. You want to leave people with a taste in their mouth that they felt like you were interested in them and they are dying to see and talk to you again. That is what makes you an interesting person and a great conversationalist. So Joe, I hope I answered your question, and I can't wait to hear how that works for you next time you try that out. If you have a question for your girl, Miss Congeniality, do not hesitate to ask. All you have to do is log on to my website at misscon.tv and select the VIP page. There you can ask your question and sign up for my weekly newsletters. I'll do my best to answer you either on camera or in an email. Well, folks, that's all the time we have left for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Miss Congeniality. I know I most certainly did. Remember to love yourself, be yourself, and let's make this world a more beautiful place. Until next time, I am Miss Congeniality. Hey y'all, I'm Jamie Doris, Miss Congeniality. Thanks for watching this video. You know, there is more fun, feminine, fearless, fabulous content where that came from, so go ahead, hit subscribe.